So Richie, can you tell us a bit about your plans for Golden Boy to get a foothold in Britain and in British boxing?
Well, the idea is for Golden Boy to do 4 live events here in the UK. I started the process to file for an application with the British Boxing Board of Control. Uh, the reason behind it really is the British fight fans. As you know, we've been promoting some of the biggest fighters in the UK over the past 10 years, whether if it's a Ricky Hatton or an Amir Khan or US promoter for David Hay and some of Joe Kazaki's fights as well. And so I think that the British fight fans are the most enthusiastic in the world, and I just always felt if the right opportunity comes that I would love to expand the Golden Boy brand into the UK market. And when we had the opportunity to sign Anthony Ogogo, I felt that was the right moment, because Anthony, we know, is a tremendous talent in the ring. Look at his amateur career, you look at his success at the Olympics, but what he has as well, which is quite rare, he has that charisma and that personality which really can transcend the sport of boxing. And I'm obviously not the only one who realizes that, because you look at one of the most iconic global brands, Subway, who has obviously realized the same and came to the same conclusion I did, that he is a charismatic young athlete who represents himself, the sport of boxing, and the country, the United Kingdom, very, very well. And that is exactly the kind of profile of fighter I would want to have within the Golden Boy stable.
And so, are you interested in signing more British boxers to expand in the UK?
Well, if it's fighters which fit within that framework which I just outlined, absolutely. Now, whether they're young Olympians or whether they're fighters which have already a certain number of pro fights and so on, doesn't really matter. But I would want to have fighters, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. I would want fighters which really are that total package, which have that crossover appeal. And that's not so easy because there are not too many around.
I mean, Anthony Joshua and Luke Campbell both won gold medals at the Olympic Games. Have Golden Boy made offers to them?
I'm not going to disclose on who I made offers to. I'm going to hold my cards rather close to my chest. I don't think that would be a very smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, and to talk about other fights that are going on, obviously Bernard Hopkins is fighting Tavoris Cloud, but was Nathan Cleverly, was he ever in the running to get a fight?
Yes, he was, but Nathan has a mandatory obligation, so he couldn't fight Bernard. But Bernard made it clear that assuming he wins, that he would want to continue and unify some titles, and I think Nathan Cleverly would very much like to fight Bernard, and I had actually conversations with Nathan's promoter, with Frank Warren, and Frank is open to do that fight, so hopefully Bernard comes through and wins, and beating his own record to become the oldest man ever to become a world champion. And Nathan hopefully comes through as well, and then those two can fight each other sometime later on this year.
You're not worried that Hopkins is running out of time? I mean, how long can he keep going?
Well, when he turned 40, I was thinking he was running out of time, and now we're almost 50 years later. Yesterday was his press conference to announce the Tavoris Cloud fight. It was the date when he turned 48 yesterday, and so one thing you cannot say that Bernard Hopkins is running out of time, because he actually said he would like to become the undisputed light heavyweight champion before he turns 50.
And Shane Mosley has got the fight with Paulie Malignaggi, but do you think world title fights should be based on current form rather than kind of past accomplishments?
Well, what I feel is that the right thing is to give people an opportunity and not discriminate against age. I think Shane Mosley has accomplished a lot, has entertained fight fans from around the world over many, many years, has had his last few fights at 154 pounds, feels that he can have an impact at 147, and he wants to have one last chance. And when he came to see me sometime in early December, he asked me for that one last chance. And I think if Shane Mosley deserves one thing, is that we do give him that one chance. It's going to be up to him to deliver. I don't know if he's going to win. You ask fight fans, you ask media members, who do you think is going to win that fight between Malignaggi and Shane Mosley? And the fact is, about 50, the opinions are about split 50-50. Well, I consider that as a promoter a pretty darn good job to deliver a fight which is a 50-50 fight. This is not like where one guy is a 20-1 favorite. This is a 50-50 fight. It's an intriguing fight, and you don't know who is going to win. And that's all I can do. That's what fight fans want to see. They want to see fights where you don't know who is going to win.
I see. And on to Adrian Broner. There was a lot of talk about him fighting Ricky Burns, kind of before the Gavin Rees fight was made. Why did Broner Burns not happen?
Well, I think Ricky Burns didn't want to do the fight. He, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was him or his manager or who it was, but we made a very, very lucrative offer, and he decided to go a different route. No problem. We moved on, and then now Adrian is fighting Gavin Rees. No big deal. I hope down the road this fight with Ricky Burns is going to happen, and that Ricky is not just going to say it and he wants to fight Adrian Broner, but in fact he is going to fight Adrian Broner, because I think that would be a much anticipated matchup.
Do you think it's likely to happen?
Well, I hope so. I mean, based on my conversations I had with Frank Warren as recently as a Monday when I met with Frank, yes, he is. They want to do the fight. He's open. I discussed with Frank a fight between Ricky Burns and Adrian Broner. He wants to do it. Frank is on board, just like he's on board to do a potential Cleverly Hopkins fight again, assuming that both of them win.
And Adrian Broner, I mean, do you see him as being the new Floyd Mayweather, or kind of inheriting the throne?
I think Adrian Broner is the new Adrian Broner. You know, it's always dangerous to say you compare him with somebody, but I know where you're coming from with his personality and his flash and his style and so on. There, of course, are comparisons made outside of the ring to Floyd Mayweather, and inside of the ring, he is a very rare talent, a tremendous defensive specialist like Floyd Mayweather. Maybe not quite as polished and as good as Floyd Mayweather, the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, but on the offensive side, Adrian Broner has a punch. Adrian Broner can hurt somebody in there, and so you look at those two things, it is an amazing talent in the ring and a character outside of the ring. And so you look at these, you just never know. When Oscar de la Hoya retired, people said, oh, it's going to be a long time before we're going to have in boxing a star who transcends the sport like Oscar and does these kind of pay-per-view numbers like Oscar did. And then there came Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, and now with Manny Pacquiao basically gone, or I mean almost gone, Floyd Mayweather is the undisputed pound-for-pound guy. Floyd is getting older, so you sort of like start thinking who can be the next one, and I think here out of the blue comes Adrian Broner, and I mean we'll see what the next couple of years will bring, but I do think he has the opportunity to really become the new face of boxing.
And what next for Mayweather?
Well, he's going to be fighting May 4th. Unlike in other years, he asked me to actually hold 2 dates for him this year. He wants to fight twice. He wants to fight May 4th and September 14th. I'm holding both dates with the pay-per-view industry in the United States and with the MGM Grand in Las Vegas as well. So good news for fight fans. We are going to see Floyd Money Mayweather twice this year. I'm working on finalizing the May 4th bill, which will probably be done. Again, I'll be back in the office on Friday. I'm going to meet Friday morning with his advisor, and we are going to be continuing to work on finalizing that card. I would anticipate that we will have something to announce within the week.
I mean, is it between Robert Guerrero and Saul Alvarez to be his opponent in May?
These are two of the names, yes, which are being mentioned, and the question is as well, is there potentially a double header or not, and so on. So with maybe Mayweather and Saul on the same card and so on. So these are some of the elements which I'm currently working on, and I really don't want to discuss it because I'm very respectful to Floyd Mayweather. When we're ready and we are done, Floyd Mayweather will announce it.
And to go on to another fight, Leo Santa Cruz, do you expect him to defend his title against England's Jamie MacDonald?
Well, that could certainly be the case. I feel that if it can be worked out, he should get the opportunity, Jamie, to fight Leo Santa Cruz. Yes.
And looking at the heavyweights, Deontay Wilder, what do you make of his star potential, and where do you expect him to be in 2 years' time?
Well, he won a bronze medal 4 years ago at the Olympics, and we brought him along slowly. It was like a learning experience for him, and I think now he's almost there where we are ready to unleash him. And unleash, I think, is the right word. He's a tremendous puncher, very exciting, and I do think that within the next 2 years, he's going to be able to challenge for one of the world titles.
And finally, it looks like pay-per-view is coming back to the UK when Froch boxes Kessler again. Do you think that's good for boxing in Britain?
Oh, I think it's great for boxing in Britain, and I think what is surprising that some of the networks have said, well, pay-per-view, you can't really charge for premium content here in the UK. I mean, like Sky is already a subscription service, so how can you go and charge consumers with extra money and so on? Well, I think it's great to have pay-per-view because pay-per-view is an option. Nobody has to buy it. Nobody's forced to buy it, but it's premium content. And here in the UK, let me ask you: when you buy a hamburger in New York and you buy a hamburger in the UK, the hamburger in the UK doesn't cost a third of what you pay in the US. To the contrary, it's probably more expensive to buy a hamburger here in the UK than buying a hamburger in the United States. So why is it that in the United States, boxing fans are used to pay $60 for a pay-per-view fight, and nobody complains, and you have record numbers, 1.5 million and so on, huge pay-per-view numbers, and here in the UK, where a fight fan can buy a fight for £14.95, it's an issue. It's probably the best deal around. It's probably, with $14.95, it's a great deal, it's a great price to see premium content. Now, when you're going to use the pay-per-view to try to sell non-premium content to the consumers, then I agree, that's wrong. There are certain fights which belong on pay-per-view, and there are other fights which don't belong on pay-per-view. And I think in the past the mistake has been made that fights which don't belong on pay-per-view have been sold as pay-per-view fights. So I hope that the pay-per-view providers have learned from their mistakes and are using the pay-per-view platform for truly ultra premium events. And if they're going to do that, there's nothing wrong with pay-per-view. To the contrary, I applaud them for doing it, because what that allows you is it allows you to put together bigger events which otherwise you couldn't do, because the TV license fees are such that they don't support to put the mega fights together. The TV license fees are too small to allow big fights to happen. Pay-per-view is the model where you can bring mega events to the UK, but it has to be reserved for mega events.
Get involved with all the best boxing banter at our forum, and that's forum.boxingnewsonline.net.